Okay, so I just wrote this thing. I'm gonna read it verbatim because trying to read it as if I am talking is difficult. Depression is like a cross between a sad feeling and chicken-a-winnigish. Okay, like actually, depression is something that when I get it, I feel the need to analyze its cause. To understand depression while depressed is probably way more difficult than to analyze it when not depressed, but when I'm not depressed, I'd rather not think about it, or just forget that it's something I want to understand. I'm gonna get to the point. Sadness and a reluctance to do anything about it. I think that's what depression is. Depression is not literally sadness, I know this. It's something that cripples you and puts you into a lockdown state where doing anything is difficult. While I don't know if I have chemical depression, I do know that this lockdown state happens pretty regularly, and it's different from just feeling sad. So, lacking a better term, I'm just going to call it depression. Now, depression may be solvable with a mere pill for some people, but I believe that most of the time, it's also fueled by specific outside influences. Let's say if someone makes fun of you, and then you feel sad about it, the depression part is when you become crippled due to the sadness. It's not just feeling sad, it's feeling sad and then shutting down. Inaction takes over, and the only thing you can make yourself do is something that distracts you from whatever you're sad about. Right now, I want to work on a comic. I feel depressed about it, I don't feel like doing it, and so it stands to reason that my issue is with doing the comic. Something about drawing the comic would force me to confront big, sad feelings that I'd rather not think about. Existential things about how it's too late in my life to be doing this, how I'll never be good enough, pussy shit. I'm well aware of how much of pussy shit this is stupid, but that's the melting pot of how depression comes into being. So to get over depression, you need to get over the sadness. Attacking the symptoms does nothing. If I'm distracting myself with YouTube and video games, and I get rid of YouTube and video games from my life, I'm still going to find something that will distract me from whatever it is that causes me to confront the sad thoughts. I think a misconception is that whatever distracts me is categorically the problem. I can imagine that if I love work, and watching YouTube videos somehow makes me confront sad feelings, I would more easily do the work and would do anything to, avoid YouTube. It's a path of least resistance thing. I will gravitate towards whatever is successful in making me distracted. YouTube and video games are often very good at this, so you come to the erroneous conclusion that entertainment is the problem. But it's obviously not the problem. It's a symptom of the depression. You're distracting yourself because you don't want to confront something. To solve the depression, you need to solve the root cause, the sad thoughts. How does one solve the root cause? I don't know. But I think an important step is understanding the distinction between the cause and the symptom. I had this revelation in bed last night, and it just makes a lot of sense. Having a firmer grasp on the reality of my brain chemistry is pretty satisfying, and as a result I automatically feel better without having to do anything in particular. I find that I often suddenly and randomly feel not depressed after a depressive spell, and I think it's due to something like this, a feeling of understanding and control that sort of emerges just over time. And once I feel like I'm in control, I'm not sad anymore, and then I just continue working like nothing was wrong. I crave this feeling of control, and I feel great when I feel like I know what's happening. Obviously, I don't know more than a literal psychoanalyst, but I know myself pretty well. I armchair psychoanalyze myself pretty much all the time, so I think my conclusion here holds at least some water. And really, it just makes sense that to get over something, you need to confront it head-on rather than running away. I suppose the idea behind removing distractions is to potentially force you to get into a situation where you must confront your demons, but I usually think of removing distractions as a reason to force me to do my work, hoping that my demons will disappear on their own. I don't really use that time that I save by getting rid of YouTube to force me to think about depression, try and solve this problem in me. I just try to work, and, it's difficult, it's very stressful, and I don't think in the long term that's very good for me. Maybe it is. I'm sure a lot of people do a lot of work while depressed, but they just muscle through it. But, Doesn't work for me very well. Now, therapy is where you go to have an expert ask you questions in order to help you confront your demons in a safe-feeling environment. Having a set meeting time probably goes a long way into giving you a sense of structure and order to your life. So just having that as like, this time of day and this day of the week, I go, and this is the time in which I think about sad shit. And the rest of the time, I can feel good and do things because I've had that outlet. I think the important thing to take away from this revelation I had about, like, the cause and the symptoms is that while I feel better now because I have some semblance of, like, understanding, I haven't actually confronted my demons, I haven't actually solved any of my problems, and getting a therapist is still something I need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future. So while I have the gumption to, do stuff today, I should still use it to get the therapy. Or organize, just, I don't know, look into it. But yeah. That is my thought. Depression is solvable. I mean, sometimes it's real hard to solve. Like, if you've got PTSD, you can't just get over that. But if you want to work, you have to let out those feelings somewhere, and therapy seems to, like, pretty much the best place to do such a thing. And maybe also pills will help. I don't know. Alright, the end.